Okay, so I'll start with XRP today, and I'm going to start with a zoom out, and then we look at what's happened since yesterday. Yeah? So I'm looking at the fibs, and here is the bottom of the bear market in the previous bull run down here, 12th of March 2020, 10 cent 48 or so, yeah. And then here's the peak. Here's the peak of the bull run we've had, and then here's the bear market correction, yeah. So now what's happening when we zoom in? It might help explain what's going on at the moment. When we zoom in, there's the 618, the golden pocket, and at the moment price action on the daily has been bouncing along the 618, yeah. So then when we zoom in a little closer, is yesterday, I'll put it on the hourly. Yesterday I had said that potentially we're going to break out here. I thought we were. My bias was reckoning it was going to break out. We're looking at possible 1-2 and a lift up. I did say it could go down and do another correction, and again XRP likes its 786, so look right to it. So it did come down and correct yesterday. There for now, and then from there it came back up and did another 786, and then from there broke down. From there it did a lower low on this wick, yeah. So now here we are right now, and it hasn't broken up yet, and potentially it's looking like it could spill. However, the 618 is here, so when we look at the MAs later on, it won't seem right in the sense of how can the hour and the 4 hour behave this way in such a small space, which I'll show you when we go through. When we look at the channels, again just zooming out for a sec, is you can see, I'm going to take this one out just for a second, the smaller one, simplify it a bit more. We're still below this 4 hour support and resistance line, bouncing off this 1 hour one, which seems to equate to the 618, and then equally the red channel here is, you can see that it's dropped out of it, yeah, and it was being back tested. So I was thinking it's going to come back up because you got your three steps down. It's due a lift, yeah, but that may not necessarily be true. Is if this doesn't break up, it looks like it might just continue on down, yeah. Maybe this leg hasn't finished, but we'll see. We'll see. So now when I put this back in, when I put this other triangle back in, again you see the bigger one playing out. Potentially, this is Skyline, this is Mountain Peak. Is you have a second drop here. This could be third drop in this arc. This could be final peak, final bounce, and we could be going through final retrace for a drop, for a spill. So it could be that, and final retrace could be pretty small, yeah. Or rather than this being third drop, this is third drop, and we have a final peak, a final bounce, a final retrace, and then a spill, which would fit in with this smaller arc here, where now rather than this being, there we go. Okay, the screen blanked out there for a second. This is Skyline on the bigger arc. This is Mountain Peak. On the smaller one, this is Skyline. Is mid-range high. First drop, second drop, are spike and third spike. So now from here, and this is mid-range high, third spike, Potentially then we have a lift up for mountain peak, third drop, final peak, final bounce, and then a spill. So both scenarios could fit. We just have this one, and it's literally on the precipice of dropping out of this arc, or we have more to go before the breakout. It really depends on whether this can break up or whether it's going to spill. So that's the dilemma, yeah. Now, here is I'm zooming out today just to help make more sense of what's actually going on right now. Because when I move into the MAs, you'll see there's the daily MAs have taken over. So these are all this support and resistance lines from horizontal and diagonal for all the history, yeah, all the major ones, yeah. So when you zoom out, is two that I want you to pay attention to are the yellow ones. Each one of these is a break between them creates a parabolic move. They're big moves, and you'll see big drops, big pumps. So the yellow lines are those parabolic moves, and then the blue lines are smaller moves, but still you can see they're substantial, but they're not as big as the yellow ones. Yeah. So now when we zoom into here, now look at this blue channel here, yeah, and I've marked out the touches to it so you can see the pattern, yeah. And again, we've broken out of this channel, and we're sitting under it at the moment. And then if you look at remember the yellow lines, the parabolic moves, we're below a yellow line, so we're sitting below this yellow line, yeah. So the next yellow line will be down here at 19 cent or so, 20 cent, yeah. But again, you can see the blue line here seems to be holding price action as well at the moment. So yeah, we just gotta let it play out. When we zoom into the MAs, this is where you can see the dailies have taken over, and I'll show you what I mean by this. Yeah. So the 3-day turned last night. Okay. So now I'm going to clear out the drawings just so that it's clearer. Yeah. So the 3-day turned last night. A bit of a sideways look at the angle of the 5 come down here, and then look, it's gone a bit sideways. Rather than coming down and applying more pressure, it's applying less pressure. And the VWAP is done the same action, yeah. So potentially the VWAP is holding things up at the moment. So you can see the daily action here is the VWAP is holding, yeah. Excuse me. Actually, I'll go back here as well. Is bottom. Sorry, my computer's a bit laggy at the moment. Or the internet is a bit laggy. Very laggy. Okay, there's the 3-day. Okay, so you can see down on the bottom, the third 1, 2, 3 left. There's the stock RSI. So the stock RSI is starting to bottom out on, or very close to it on the 3-day. Yeah. Still the same with the MACD here. Actually looks like it's going to turn down. The RSI is pushing down a little bit at the moment, and I think that keeps wavering through the day. Where if you look at the divergences here, there's a potential bullish divergence here a little bit, yeah. So just with the 3-day has turned, so it's not the real one. I'm trying to say, it looks like it's been more supportive than resistance at the moment, yeah. Equally, the 2-day turned yesterday as well, and and again, what seems to be holding it up is the VWAP. While the 5 is coming down, is the VWAP seems to be holding at the moment. And then equally on the 1 day, is you can see again the VWAP seems to be holding, and then the 5 is again coming down at an angle, but it's not necessarily pushing too hard. If anything, the 5 could turn into support here, yeah. So, and you can see down the bottom one down the stock down here, turned from the left, is the stock has turned up, yeah. So it looks like the 1 day is holding things up at the moment, with a little bit of support from the 2 and the 3 day. A tenuous support, but it seems like a little bit, yeah. And I'll just give you an example of the 12-hour, just to say potentially this is something that could be going on, yeah. On the multi-days, is you see on the 12-hour here as an example, the 12-hour, the VWAP came down and then turned up. So the VWAP was holding it. So it seems like the VWAP is holding things on the dailies, yeah. While the 5 MA is coming down, and again you see the 5 MA is doing a bit of a flip and a flop on the 12-hour, just keeping it sideways. So you can see all this sideways going on, yeah. But I think what's happening is the VWAP is still holding it on the days. So the days are in control, and that's how they're using it. So now when we zoom into the VWAP, the 12-hour looks like it could be wanting to turn up there, yeah. So now I'll just zoom into the hour for a moment, and then I'll go to the 4-hour. So yesterday, again, just waiting for the lag. Yesterday, the stock, this one down here, the stock was yesterday here, yeah. Yesterday the stock was high, and I was suggesting that listen, this could stay high if the 4-hour and the daily wants to keep it high. But however, the hour came down, bottomed out. Again, you can see it's moving pretty fast here. So really what I'm trying to say is that in the last couple of days, the hour has got very malleable. You can see it's doing a lot of up and down over the last couple of days. And I'd suggested that maybe this would stay at the top and it would start to take a lift up. But the fact is it came down and it's going a bit sideways like this. And the reason why I said that was because of the 4-hour. I was going, look, the 4-hour is sitting at the top, and it might want to do something like this. It still actually might want to do something like this. Whereas going, look, the 4-hour looks like it's going to hold. And the 4 hours after dropping. So a very odd thing here about that is the 4-hour, we put this in with price action now, yeah? So here I am down the stock on the bottom, third from the left here, yeah? So look, there's the top, there's the 4-hour top. I circle it in red there, and here it is in red here, yeah? So there's, just so you get what I'm talking about. So now, we're going to put a yellow one here, just so you can get a sense of what I'm talking about. So there's a yellow one there, and that equates to, this here equates to here. There you go. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'll just do that for now, yeah. So very simply what I'm saying is that look at the top of the 4-hour here, is you got this drop, and then look, it went sideways like this, and at the end of it you got a big wick. So you can see that pattern there. And then here we are here again. There's the top again, there's the 4-hour, it drops. So again it drops, it does a little sideways, and then potentially, if it wants to do the same pattern as it does here, is it starts to go a little sideways and up. So it starts to battle its way up, a little bit of sideways, you know, and then we get the blow off top. and that would give us our mountain peak. That would give us our mountain peak on our smaller arc, and also give us our final peak on the bigger arc. And that would help fill out this space. And then we have the breakout. Remember I was talking about this yellow channel here. This is the whole bear market channel all the way down. Okay, there's a lag. And this yellow center line is, to me, it seems like price action wants to go and test this center line again. If it is going to break up, it has to go back and test it and get up there. If it is going to spill down, I think one last rejection from it looks like it could be in, yeah. So that's potentially what could be happening here, because now this is the odd part, is with regards to 4 hour, is look at the, where is it now? If you look at the 4 hour MAs, spilly, and we're looking at this going, why isn't the 4 hour dropping? Why isn't it just dropping like a lead balloon? Because you can see the way price action is starting to curve over here. And there's the VWAP holding it, and potentially the 618 is holding it. Possibly, it might drop. It could drop in the next hour, but it is following the form of this previous pattern. It does seem to be following this form. I think we'll know pretty soon, because these look to be bottoming out here. So the next 4 hour candle, the next 4 hour candle, maybe we'll get a drop and a retrace. So we'll be looking for, if we get a drop down and a retrace candle like this, I think is a good indication that it might start to head up a little bit, yeah. Or here even. There we go. Somewhere here, yeah. And head on up. So we'll see what happens, yeah. I'm still in my long. I've got a very nice position here. Put my stop loss a little bit below here. You know, I promised myself I'd take profits every day, so it offered me 35 yesterday, and I didn't take it. 35%. I thought this would be done. I thought this would be done faster than it's taken. So we'll see. We'll see how this behaves, and we'll take from there. So now basically back to here is, I put this in here as a potential symmetrical triangle. Again, is we may get another drop. Let's see what happens. And then after that, let's see over the next 2 or 3, 4 hour cycles, do we get our turn? And if it starts to head up, I think that's a good indication that it's showing us what direction it's going to go. Yeah. So that's it for now. I'm just watching. And seeing what direction it wants to go. So you can see there's a support line here. So let's see if this support line holds, and it can turn it around and start to send it up. If not, potentially it could drop on the turn of the 12 hour. On the turn of the 12 hour. So on the 12 hour, let me just click to the 12 hour here. There we go. So you can see the stock on the 12 hour is heading up at the moment. Even the MACD looks like it wants to head up here on the bottom far right. The RSI, the second from the left here, the white one, that's wicking down at the moment. So we'll see what the next 12 hour, when it turns in 3 hours or so, we'll see what direction this wants to take. Yeah, and then on the far bottom left is, again, this shows divergence lines, and this is showing support here. So potentially there's a lift coming in for a potential bullish divergence. Yeah. And I suppose the last thing I want to say then is about the EMAs. So on the top left is the 5 EMA. You can see it flipping and flopping. Just before I started, the 5 had crossed over. It was a lift. Now it's crossing down. The white one is crossing down. It's a drop. is I'm watching these as well. These seem to have gone into a little bit of a sideways. If you look at the top right, which is the 15-minute one, again, is there may be a drop down, and what we would need to see is a solid turn on the 5, and then a follow through on the 15. Yeah, the bottom left is the half hour, and then the bottom right is the hour. So if you look at the bottom right, again, look at the VWAP there, the yellow line. The yellow line seems to be just holding at the moment. So as long as the VWAP stays as support, it will allow the 4 hour. It will allow the 4 hour to do its thing, and potentially drop down enough and then start to do a lift up. So there you go. That's my thought. That's my thought. I just thought one more thing, which is literally going to be super brief about it, is on the daily here, is potentially, if we are going to have a big drop down, potentially the day wants to come up. So possibly the day comes up over the next 2 or 3 or 4 days, even a week or so. The day comes up and resets itself to the top so that we can have that spill down if that's what's going to happen. Yeah. So that's it. So I'm just watching for now. Yeah. I suppose levels is I really don't want for the lift. I don't want to see it break at 31.82. Is this channel here? Is if I wanted to come down and touch off this channel here, we're looking at doing a double bottom around the 31.82 or so, if that's what I wanted to do. If it starts breaking this, it looks like it's going to head down further. And then I really needed to see it break above. For the lift, it really needs to break this level here at 33.35. So they're the basic levels that I'm watching, yeah. And then this line here is the VWAP, or not the VWAP, the fib on the macro scale. 33.32 again seems to be a little bit of a support and resistance line. You can see it drop here, come back above it, drop back above it. So this seems like a support line as well, yeah. So that's the zone. If you start to see it actively break one of these zones below 31.80 or above 33.35, I think we're going to have a very sweet move coming in. It'll be worth a trade, but you just got to watch that zone for now and see how it plays out. So that's me.
Okay, so I'm going to start with Ethereum because the conversation is a little bit clearer with Ethereum than Bitcoin. Ethereum has been holding the support line very nicely, but on the 1 hour we can see that the 20 is about to cross down over the 55. Now this rarely has little impact. It generally has a big impact, and it causes a nice drop. So if we look at the previous situations, this was the cross here, and this was the drop that it caused. This was the cross here, this was the drop that it caused. This was the cross here, and this little thing here was the drop that it caused. So this was the drop here, this was the drop that it caused. I'm going to measure the smallest drop from this, and it's a 5% drop, which would take us from here. 5% would be right about here, the 1450, 1460 area, where we have already been for a double bottom here. So that might be the best case scenario if these cross. If it's bigger, then the next level, if this 1450 breaks, then the next level is around 1300. So this would be a bigger fish to fry, and it would be around 11%. So this would be a nice breakout situation here on the 15-minute arc. Now, speaking about the 15-minute arc, which I have been looking at for a while now, both Bitcoins and Ethereums look equally messy, and I'm keeping the lines of the arc as they are for the moment because it's interesting to see what's happening. It's the first time I see this sort of back test of the arc line. There we go. This changed. Okay, I had it like this. Here, yes. Now I take that back because it was the way I had it, but I'm gonna keep it like this. It's still an interesting, it's not as dramatic as it looked before, but it's still quite interesting because I believe this was mountain peak, final bounce, final retrace, and then it threatened to come out and break upwards, and it's still staying along this line. Now I will have to probably move this here because this was actually higher, so this is mountain peak, and I'll include everything in here rather than conveniently letting it there and just play the drama in my mind. So we might end up having this sideways towards the apex of the triangle going on today / tomorrow. There's some unemployment news coming out tomorrow, and generally what happens is the market trends sideways until the news comes out, and then it moves the market. Now, what we need to know for Ethereum is that the price is definitely compressing. Like we see the range becoming narrower and narrower. So something is about to happen. It looks, according to the RSIs, that it is going to come up. We do have a bullish divergence here on the recent lows on the 1 hour. Sorry guys, my brain is still half asleep. No, I take that back. It seemed like a bullish divergence, but there is no bullish divergence. So yeah, there's no bullish divergence. But what we do have here is the RSI, the stochastic RSI crossing up. Now, how I'm going to monitor today is by looking at the levels, because the levels in sideways days, levels can give us a lot more, the levels on Traders Reality can give us a lot more indication where this is going. This is not looking great in terms of the up move. Yesterday it looked amazing. There was nothing stopping Ethereum yesterday, to be honest. It just pushed down. So yesterday there was absolutely nothing stopping it from reaching the 16,000. Today it's under a lot of points of interest. So it is below the pivot point, it's below the daily open, and if I switch to the 15-minute, where's the psychological levels? Just a second, I had to refresh there because the psychological levels were not. Ah, there they are. I was, and Ethereum is still above the psychological levels, which is less dramatic than what I'm going to say about Bitcoin. But it is below the pivot point and it is below the daily open. This is not good. It is holding the M2. Again, a very interesting thing. These levels set themselves every day. The trend lines are always there, but the trend line that we have here for a 1530, 1525 is the M2 level. So if this trend line breaks, then the next one to go to, generally from M2, it goes to M0, so 1440, which again, to be more conservative with a short target, would be the psychological low at 1450. So that's the target that I would set. This looks the more likely move, unless the pivot point is regained. If the pivot point is regained, I would be for the up, because we're moving from M2 to M4. But at the moment we're in the middle of the middle and we are below the pivot point, which makes the move downwards more likely. I'm going to start with the levels on Bitcoin too. so that you see the difference. So Ethereum's psychological levels were here, and it's sort of like above them, and maybe they will serve as a sort of drop protection for support. Whereas Bitcoin has very little protection left underneath. It's basically resting on the psychological low. It broke the M2. It is below the daily open, below the pivot point, below the psychological high. This here is a lot of density of levels that need to be regained so that it could move up. I'm not saying it won't. Again, the way the market had the pivot point and the psychological high yesterday here, it had both of them, and it was resting above the M3, and it looked great for a lift. Today it turned around and it is underneath all of these. It is looking like the 1 hour stochastic is exhausted, but the regular RSI still has a little bit more juice left to push down if it wants to. There are a lot of wicks to the down, but compared to the wicks to the up, there are some wicks to the up, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Wicks to the down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So about twice as much, twice as many. So again, it looks like we could make a lift, but I can't tell you that the lift is more likely until we regain the pivot point. At the moment, it looks like the M2 to M0 level is more likely, from the M2 19,900 down to the 19,200. Now, these are not extremely tradable ranges for Bitcoin. It's actually a pain to trade. Like if you got in, for instance, here holding this line for a retest, you would be in the red for about 1.18%. So everything that happened, all the drama that happened yesterday, was worth 18% at 10x. So not a big range, which means again that price is compressing. So if we change to our 15-minute arc, now I'll pay more attention here to see how there we go. I'll remove the fibs from here. Yes, so here I have it set. Here I have it set correctly. Now, you see all this drama that's happening at the edge of the arc. I'm going to include it in so that you see this, the kind of space that we're moving in. So we're moving into this super tight space. Now, from this space, this is let me readjust this because this was the conservative measurement. If we break up, we might be coming up to this line, and this is a daily channel, which is 21.6, mid 21K. And if we break down, we're going down to the 1800. Again, these are weekly targets rather than daily targets. For the daily targets today, as I said, if we break down, we might see a lower low at 19. Again, at 1900 to 19,200, which is the M0. And if we move up, but again, if we move up, that move up has to go through all of this. Where we might see again the 20,700, 20,600 level being tested, which again would add more sideways to this. I believe this is a big sideways channel here that we're moving in. There we go. So this one from here to here, I'm not gonna put a line here because I'm going to use this bottom line here because this was the previous support and resistance, and it is the 1 hour arc line. So it is a big sideways channel. It could still have another drop down to here, or from where it is here, because it is resting on a trend line. There we go. It is resting on a trend line from where it is here, coming up again to 20,400, 20,600, down again. I believe there's still one more swing in it to go. We've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. So we might see a couple of swings left until tomorrow, when the market makers will decide to move the market as they so please after the news. So yeah, we are moving into a tighter and tighter space. Let's watch and see what this is gonna do. If you are not in a trade, wait for the levels to show themselves. As in, wait, if you want a long, wait for the pivot point. It's not a big wait, and it is a healthy wait. Wait for the pivot point, or this yellow support and resistance line, to be turned back into support. That would be a good indication. That's where I entered yesterday on the retest of this for the lift. For my long, I'm still in my long. I believe, again, it will do a lift to at least 20,700. At least that level will be tested. If you want to go into a short, and if you haven't started here already, which would have been a great entry point, if you haven't started here, then you have to wait for the psychological low to be broken and confirmed on the 15-minute, because it keeps price action keeps using it for support. It's not holding below it, so it's wicking to it, but it's not holding below it. So that would be a good indication that it is going to come down. At the moment, it's just again, playing with the psychology of people. They're keeping the price low to collect more short orders. These situations can be quite challenging to trade, but again, if you keep a close look on the levels, you can make more informed decisions. That's it from me. I'll see you tonight at the post-trade analysis. And if you have any questions, I've posted my TA already in the chats. Let me know there. Have a great day.